All right, today we're jumping into what is basically a high-stakes courtroom drama, straight out of the book of Acts. And this isn't just any trial. It's a scene where one prisoner's testimony, well, it's about more than just his own fate. It's going to put an entire empire's worldview on trial. So let's set the scene. Imagine this. You're in a Roman courtroom. You've got a governor, you've got a king, and then you've got the Apostle Paul. And he's standing there, a man in chains, about to give what is arguably the most important speech of his life. You can just feel the tension in the air, can't you? It's this incredible collision of power, politics, and deeply held belief. So Paul gets up before this royal court, and he starts recounting his incredible conversion story. But here's the thing. He's not just defending himself. Not at all. He's proclaiming something that completely alters reality, a resurrected Messiah. And that one claim, just that one idea, is about to push this entire hearing right to its breaking point. Okay, so as Paul is passionately speaking about Jesus rising from the dead, the Roman governor, a guy named Festus, he just can't take it anymore. He literally stops the entire hearing, interrupts with this loud accusation, and in that one moment, he reveals this massive, massive chasm between his world and Paul's. And this is where you really see the two worldviews just smash into each other. For Festus, right? He's a practical Roman. His world runs on logic, full stop. Anything outside of that, especially something like a resurrection, that's not just wrong, it's pure insanity. But for Paul, faith isn't illogical. It's actually the key to unlocking and understanding a much, much deeper reality. And there it is. That's the outburst. Now think about what Festus is saying here. He doesn't accuse Paul of lying. No, he accuses him of being brilliant, but completely mad. He looks at all of Paul's deep learning, his theological knowledge, and he doesn't see wisdom. He sees the very thing that broke his mind. I mean, for a Roman rationalist, that is the only possible explanation. You know, this idea wasn't new, not even back then. Paul himself wrote about it. This core message of Christianity, that salvation comes through a crucified and resurrected Savior, was just seen as complete foolishness to the smart, intellectual types of the Greco-Roman world. It's wild, isn't it? What Paul calls the power of God, Festus just calls madness. Okay, but what happens next? This is just pure genius. Instead of getting into a back and forth with the governor who's just dismissed him as crazy, Paul makes this brilliant strategic pivot. He turns his attention to the one person in that room who might, just might, actually get what he's talking about. And just look at the poise here. Paul doesn't lash out, he doesn't get defensive. He very respectfully addresses Festus, says, "I'm not out of my mind," and calls his message true and reasonable. And then, bam, he immediately turns his focus to King Agrippa. Because Agrippa, unlike the Roman Festus, has a deep, deep understanding of Jewish history and prophecy. He's the one who might connect the dots. Paul's strategy here is just incredible. I mean, check this out. He completely bypasses the skeptic Festus and appeals directly to the man who shares his cultural and religious background. First, he reminds Agrippa, hey, these things weren't done in a corner. Everyone knows about them. And then comes the masterstroke. He puts the king right on the spot. He asks him directly, do you believe the prophets? I know that you do. Just brilliant. And this is the famous, super enigmatic response from the king. What does he even mean? Is he being sarcastic? Is he just trying to deflect a really uncomfortable, direct question? Or is he genuinely stunned by the power of Paul's argument? Is he admitting that he's almost persuaded? People have debated this for centuries, but one thing is for sure, Paul's words absolutely hit their mark. And Paul's reply is just, wow. It almost doesn't matter if Agrippa was being sincere or not, because Paul's answer is 100% genuine. He basically says, I wish everyone here, all of you listening, could find the same faith I have, and then he adds, except for these chains. He wants them to have his freedom without his suffering. It's just a moment of such profound grace and passion. So with that, the hearing is over. The king, the governor, all the officials, they get up and leave to talk it over in private. And everything, Paul's entire fate, now hangs in the balance of this one conversation happening behind closed doors. So what's their conclusion? Well, legally speaking, Paul is completely vindicated. The highest authorities in the whole region all agree. This man is innocent. He's done nothing that deserves death or even imprisonment. And from a legal standpoint, that should be it. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast, because here's the big twist. King Agrippa himself points out this huge paradox. He says, look, this man could have been set free if he hadn't appealed to Caesar. Paul is innocent. He could walk free, but his own legal move now binds him. He has to go to Rome. And this is where we see the final and maybe the most powerful theme of this whole story. Because what looks like a legal mistake, right? A frustrating setback, it's actually the key to Paul's entire mission. Those chains aren't a blunder. They're literally his ticket to Rome. It's a perfect example of what you might call a providential pathway. The idea that sometimes the things that look like setbacks or restrictions are actually part of a much bigger, divinely guided plan. Paul's appeal to Caesar wasn't a mistake. It was the exact mechanism God used to fulfill a promise, that Paul would get to bear witness in the very heart of the Roman Empire. His chains weren't an obstacle, they were the vehicle. So, what can we take away from this incredible courtroom drama? It really leaves us with a powerful playbook for our own lives, doesn't it? It teaches us to respond to mockery with grace and reason, to find that common ground, to make our case, to be bold in what we believe, even when facing powerful people. And maybe most importantly, to trust that even our biggest limitations, they can be part of a much larger unseen plan. And really, that's the final thought we're left with today. It's a challenge, really. It asks us to look at the things in our own lives that feel like restrictions, our own personal chains, and to ask ourselves a tough question. What if they aren't barriers at all? What if they're actually the providential pathway to where we are truly meant to go?